John Scott here with Jonathan Acosta. Bills gearing up to head to Cleveland this weekend to face the Browns. 3-11 Browns, trending towards a top 5 pick once again. In many ways, it is still the same old Browns, but there still are some interesting new pieces to the puzzle there. But let's start from the Bills side of things, coming off an emotional, thrilling, improbable comeback win. We've seen the script before. Maybe this was the most improbable of them to date. How is this team viewing that game, using it maybe as a trajectory while also the 24-hour rule and moving forward?
It feels almost like in college football where a team has a big rivalry game and then they go play an FCS team the next week. That's what it feels like for the Browns. So obviously all that buzz and excitement heading into that game in New England, the game sort of living up to the hype with the way it started and then it ended with the Bills winning 35-31. And now you go play a Browns team again that's 3-11, and the Bills have a chance to clinch a playoff spot, but the Browns don't really have much to play for. So I think it's a good test of this team's ability to sort of, and this is one of the questions I know that you asked Spencer Brown, to sort of put that emotional win behind them and sort of reset for this week. It's something that we've seen this team be able to do before under the leadership of Sean McDermott, Josh Allen, good leadership on this team. It's going to be a difficult task, though, again, going on the road in Cleveland, playing against a good defense. But, again, the veteran presence that this team has, I trust their ability to sort of be able to reset and leave that win against the Patriots behind them.
There's the positive side of it, saying, hey, they're racking up wins, they're staying alive in the division, you want to be trending forward at this time of the year. That seems to be what Josh Allen in particular is grabbing onto, as well as Sean McDermott. Hey, let's flip it positively and say, we are figuring it out, and these types of wins are exactly what you want to see this time of year.
Yeah, I asked Josh Allen about how it's one thing to sort of have the mental knowledge that you are able to come back in these games, and then it's another thing to have the evidence that you can point to saying, hey, we've done this. And you look back to this 3-game win streak that they're on, right? They had a deficit against Pittsburgh where they didn't play well in the first half. They were down 28-18 against the Bengals in the fourth quarter. They also had the big deficit against the Patriots, and they were able to come back in each of those games. Josh Allen said, yeah, that works, and that helps the team's sort of ability to know that they can fight through adversity and that you want to be peaking at the right time. Then I asked him flat out, do you feel like this team is peaking right now? He said, I feel like we're close to it. Obviously, there's like the little things that this team needs to clean up, but with the way they're playing, he feels like they're close to peaking, and you want to be peaking around Christmas time, going into the playoffs. So I think that that's a positive sign of where this team is at mentally. Spencer Brown saying that coming off that win against the Patriots, there's a little bit of confidence in the meeting rooms when they got together at the beginning of this week. So I think you sort of start to see maybe like a little snowball effect for this team with these wins starting to stack up.
One thing you could point to as to the commonality with some of these comebacks is certainly Josh Allen and the offense doing their thing. It's also the defense doing their thing in the wrong direction in the first half, but having this innate ability to make the adjustments, improve the execution, and flip the script and be a completely different unit that actually is stopping people all the time and really shutting down at points. In New England, it was just a 65-yard run from Travion Henderson. Everything else was basically a 3-and-out or a turnover. But the question that's this dynamic here, and Sean McDermott even kind of, not abrasive, but he's
pushed back a
little bit of this, yeah, but. So, yeah, but you're winning the games. Yeah, but you're in this hole here. And it's an interesting dynamic that even guys we spoke to on the defense today, they're kind of the yin and yang of it here, of where do you land on the, it's not acceptable, why can't you do in the first half what you're doing in the second?
I think Sean McDermott pushed back on it both immediately after the win in New England, then especially here today to one of the questions of just his holistic view of the defense, acknowledged some of the areas for growth, obviously the play in the first half, but said that he's going to choose to focus on the positives and their ability. He called it what this team does when the moments are the brightest, and how in the second half, when that was the case, this team got all the stops it needed except on that one big play from Travion Henderson. So that's what he's going to choose to focus on. Cole Bishop said, look, it's not like he's out there not trying in the first half. There's just something that clicks for this team in the second half. So I wonder if it's almost like, in those boxing matches where there's sort of that feeling out period in the first couple rounds, and then the good boxers are able to sort of make those adjustments within the fight and apply those and end up winning. I wonder if that's the case for this Bills team, where it's just, I don't know if it's scheme, I don't know if it's the players on the field or what, but we've seen that consistently now, to where there's sort of a feeling out period in the first half, and then whatever they see, they're able to get together in the locker room. And even Cole Bishop said, it's not like they're scrapping the game plan and throwing a whole new game plan together, but they're able to make just the small tweaks to it to where something changes significantly in the second half. And this Bills team is what it is at this point. I think that, can we expect to see them all of a sudden become a great first half defense? No. Can you maybe see that specifically against the Browns this week, considering that they're not the same offense as the Bengals offense or the Patriots offense? Definitely. But once you get to the playoffs, it's more important that this Bills defense has the ability to, even if it's not going great in the first half, to have the ability to make those in-game adjustments, and that's only what they've shown so far this year.
It's certainly not the best recipe to live by in the playoffs when it's do or die, and I think everyone in this entire building would agree to that and admit that we have to be more consistent in the first half and not have to go polar extreme opposite hero style with your quarterback and your defense and the turnovers in the second half. You mentioned the Browns offense, a new quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, very much polarizing, dating back to the draft process. He's had his moments. He's certainly an upgrade from probably what they've had at other points during this season, but he's still a young quarterback, and Sean McDermott and his defenses have largely throughout his time here feasted on really making things problematic.
Especially with, again, I think we saw it even against the Patriots last week, and sort of one of those in-game adjustments, throwing different defenses at Drake May and never letting him get really comfortable. And that's a quarterback who's been playing at an MVP level and who's been the starter for the Patriots now for almost 2 full seasons. Imagine what that can do to a guy like Shedeur Sanders, right? And not as, we'll just say, as good of an offensive scheme as New England's, right? So there are pieces on that Browns offense. Quinshon Judkins has been an awesome running back for them, in my opinion.
After missing games early, I mean, he's almost 800-plus yards already.
No, he's been, I think, the driving force for that offense, right? They have some nice pass catchers in Jerry Jeudy and Harold Fannin, but you really feel like this might be the week where Sean McDermott dials up the pressure, right? Pressure can impact any quarterback, but especially those young quarterbacks, and sort of some exotic looks and everything. I wonder if this is, maybe, we often talk about get right games, especially for an offense playing against a bad defense. I wonder if this is an opportunity for the Bills defense to have a sort of get right game and put together one of those full game performances the way we saw maybe in Carolina or against the Jets in New York.
The Browns offensive line completely decimated with injuries. Weren't that great, honestly, when the entire starting unit was healthy as well. Let's go to the other side, because Myles Garrett is who we know he is. He's just 1.5 sacks, I believe, 1.5 sacks short of breaking the NFL record for most sacks in a single season here. You talk to Spencer Brown of, hey, is that on your mind? Like, as an offensive line, especially a tackle on the edge, are you thinking, I don't want this to be against me? But Sean McDermott, I think, pointed it out and laid it out. He's like, I mean, he's a future Hall of Famer, and there's just sometimes, like, you could chip. You can have 2, you can have 3, and that guy still is going to get free. There's a lot of really, really good pass rushers in the National Football League, but this might be the biggest challenge that group's faced.
You go up against certain players that you just say, for as much as we're going to game plan against them, they're going to get theirs, right? You just can't let them wreck your game plan. So Myles Garrett might have a sack. He might even get the 1.5 sacks that he needs. You just can't let him have the sort of performance that completely derails your offense, right? So I think that's why it's going to be important for the Bills, as they have done all season, go over there, be able to establish the run game with James Cook and everything. James Cook is going to be in contention to win the NFL rushing title this year, creeping up on Jonathan Taylor. He's been fantastic this year. I think especially when you travel on the road late in the season in December, that becomes even that much more vital, especially when you throw in the fact of how a good running game can keep at bay a great pass rusher like Myles Garrett, right? So I think that's going to be a big factor. And listen, Spencer Brown said it best, right? Even if he ends up breaking the record on him, if the Bills come out with the win, that's going to sort of wash away the bad taste in their mouth of letting Myles Garrett get the sack record on him. At the end of the day, Myles Garrett is a fantastic player. He's just one player on that Browns defense, though. If the Bills offense can sort of execute the way we've seen in these second halves these past couple weeks, again, Myles Garrett might still get his, but this Bills offense can certainly get theirs as well.
And he's had games of 3, 4, 5 sacks, and the Browns still lose the game.
Correct.
So he can be a quote-unquote game wrecker in his own way, and it's still not necessarily impact to the fullest extent the final score of the game. The Browns defense is good. There's talent at all 3 levels here. but they are not very good against the run, so I think it kind of plays into the hands of what the Bills ultimately want to do.
When it's also game script, too, where the defense can be really good, but if the Browns' offense is struggling as it usually does, right, that just puts that much more pressure on the Browns' defense, where even if it's a great defense, even the best defenses sometimes break down over the course of a game when they're going up against another really good offense. So that's something where, like, maybe game script, even if the Browns' defense starts off hot, if the Browns' offense is putting them in bad situations, the Bills' offense over the course of the game can maybe get rolled.
One final note. Nothing to do with this game. Tua Tagovailoa benched by the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, he was the quarterback who beat the Bills.
Yeah. With
only a couple throws. I mean, it was Devon Achane who really beat them and the Bills beating themselves. But where do you think this puts the Tua trajectory here and the tenure in Miami?
I think you just watch that game, right? And it's one of those where you feel like with the running game the Dolphins have and some of the things that you've seen schematically from Mike McDaniel, it makes you wonder what would he look like with a different quarterback? Because there was one of those picks where it was just purely an arm strength / decision type of interception from Tua Tagovailoa. And we've seen those types of interceptions over the course of his career. From the times that I've seen him both in person and on TV, I just don't think his arm strength is that of an NFL top-tier quality quarterback. And the issue is that Tua is not on a rookie contract anymore. He's on this massive contract that the Dolphins have given him. So they have this decision that they have to make with him of, do you eat the money and start him, or do you eat the money and cut ways with him? Because either way, it's going to be an expensive decision. I want to give credit where credit's due. Unfortunately, I don't remember who put this out there, but I saw this on social media about how the Broncos were in a similar position with Russell Wilson, where he just clearly was not the guy anymore, and he was going to be an expensive decision. They ate, I think, the largest cap hit in NFL history, dead cap-wise. And look, they're in position to be the number 1 seed this year with Bo Nix, right? I think if the Dolphins feel like Tua is not the guy, they can't continue to roll him out there just because of how much money is committed to him. I think you're better off sort of cutting bait with him, whether you have a desperate quarterback needy team like the Colts maybe that want to trade for him for pennies on the dollar, or you cut him. But if you think he's not your guy, you're just better off rolling with a young prospect like Quinn Ewers and seeing what he can give you than going with a guy that you know is not part of your future.
One thing about the current economics of the NFL is it's been proven time and time again a large quarterback contract in particular is not a death sentence. I mean, say what you want about the Browns' overall record. They've had money to operate. They're paying Myles Garrett. They've had these things. They just haven't gotten it right. In particular, Atlanta cutting Matt Ryan. Granted, they're not having a great season, but it's not because they've been unable to do things. Denver is a great example. I think Miami, if they choose to just keep them and just ride it out one more year because the cap hit kind of softens after 27, or 26, excuse me, or you just cut them and you just kind of take a bump year here, they're not dead in the water to something that says they're now an afterthought for 5 years.
Well, and let's say you don't like what you see out of Quinn Ewers these final few weeks, right? You have the NFL draft, and probably not going to end up with Fernando Mendoza or even a Dante Moore if he declares, but you can take a quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round and see what he can give you. Look at the Houston Texans. One of the quarterbacks that beat the Bills this year is Davis Mills, right? He's not necessarily a top 15 pick or whatever, but you can get guys in the middle rounds, develop them to where even if they're not a top-tier NFL starter, they help keep your franchise at bay, can fill in when you need them for a specific week. And again, I like what I've seen out of Mike McDaniel offensively, because remember when they came here at the beginning of the year, we're like, hey, if this team gets blown out, this might be the end of Mike McDaniel. Credit to them and to him for getting his team fighting every week to where they worked themselves back on the brink of playoff contention until they lost to the Steelers this past week, right? So I think that's still a locker room that plays for Mike McDaniel, and I can only imagine the confidence boost that it would give them to have a quarterback that they can believe in.
And we've seen veterans rise from the dead and have these resurgent seasons like a Jacoby Brissett, like Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, the list goes on. Could Mac Jones be the next one of those for next season? Who the heck knows? Miami is more devoid of talent than just at the quarterback position, so it may be best use of their resources this offseason. Build an offensive line because it's been atrocious forever and getting Tua smoked on a regular basis, and then wait your time to strike when the quarterback is right.
And reset, right? Because I think I saw a tweet out there from Tyreek Hill basically saying, deuces, he's out of there.
For a second straight year. Imagine that guy.
So
good luck to whoever wants him.
And considering the leg injury he suffered, you don't even know what he's going to be like when he comes back. So I think considering the quarterback situation and everything, maybe take your medicine for a year, reset, and then get back to it in 2027.
Bills and Patriots. That's really what it seems to be
Two-horse
here in
race.
the AFC East. Once again, Bills and Browns this weekend, Sunday at 1 o'clock in Cleveland. With Jonathan DeCosta, I'm John Scott for Channel 2 Sports.